Hey friends, you're tuned in to the Learn or Be Learned podcast, a show where wisdom meets curiosity in order to discover the human experience. I'm your host, Shiva D, and remember, you either learn from or you're learned from. Now, let's get back to the show. All right, welcome back everybody to another great episode. This is going to be a short, quick episode on my understanding about the path to success and how I believe it's often a very lonely road for a few reasons. One is the necessity for solitude in order to foster your creativity and deep thinking and personal reflections, right? So creativity is, and if you haven't checked out the episode with Rich Kirkpatrick, which is, which episode is it? 79. Episode 79 with Rich Kirkpatrick. He is a creativity expert who's been studying in this field, and awesome guest, awesome information. But one thing is irrefutable is you need the space for creativity to grow, right? So, in previous episodes I've talked about how in order to have the peer circle that you want, sometimes you have to let the peer circle that you have, right, in order for that space to be filled up again, in a way. You need a void of space in order to gain that space back, if that makes sense. Because then you're left in your comfort zone, right? If you have a group of peers that is not resonating with your new set goals, beliefs, or identity, then you will always be sucked back to that level or that vibe of the group, that frequency of the group, and you will never be able to expand to that next horizon that your soul is urging you to go towards. So that's why you need to sometimes, you don't have to burn the bridge, but sometimes you do have to let go of people in order to grow. And that void of space will then allow the universe or whatever you believe in, the destiny of life, to fill that space with people that now do support that vision of yours or frequency of yours. Another reason that I believe it's often a lonely road is a misunderstood vision. If you look at the history of the victors, often they're the most misunderstood individuals and often look crazy until it happens, right? Until the success happens. So trailblazers is what they would call them, and they're often the visionaries, the innovators, and the people that don't lose sight of what they want. And that conviction is what helps them get there. However, to everybody else around you, it'll be a misunderstood dilemma in their eyes until you actually make it, which is why it's often very lonely. People don't understand the purpose of what you do and why you're doing it at the extent that you're doing it, right? For example, I might edit at 10 p.m. at night in a podcast episode when I could be hanging out with friends. And that misunderstanding might make my friends believe that I don't want to hang out with them at all. But I have a purpose that I'm driven towards. And that's what they call the misunderstood vision, right? And that leads me to the next point, being personal sacrifice. You do have to give up certain things so that the universe can fill that void with the things that you actually want. Because I was talking to a friend here in India the other day, and I was telling him, either way, 10 years is going to go by. Might as well be doing the things you want, because in 10 years, you'll be the master of it. And I was telling him about the book Outliers and how Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 10,000 hour rule. And if you were doing something 40 hours a week, right, at like a 9-to-5 job level of dedication to something, so 40 hours a week minimum, it would take you about 5 years to reach mastery level in whatever you're doing. Now, if this is part-time, doing the math, it would be about 10 years. So that's why I was telling him, 10 years is going to go by anyways. If you have a job and you're trying to do something on the side, you might as well do it, because in 10 years, at least you'll be the master of it and your life will change astronomically for the better, rather than 10 years later looking at what if and what if I had, right? But that requires you to prioritize your work, and that is a personal sacrifice not everybody will want to do, or can do, and that's why I believe it's often a lonely road. I actually, episode 90, which will be coming out after this in a couple more episodes, I'll go a little bit deeper. Let me pull up on exactly what. Right. Okay. Yeah. Episode 90, I'll be talking about Jim Rohn's steps to life mastery. And, it's a little bit of a spoiler here. He talks about the idea of reflecting. And I believe, we all need to reflect in order to grow. And reflection is hard because it makes you take a good look at yourself and where you are versus where you want to be. And that discrepancy can often be very painful. So, all these reasons I believe can create a very lonely road to success. But I don't want to leave this episode on a dark or sad note because there are benefits and there are ways to grow from this, right? So, one is redefining what success looks like. And for me, coming this far already has been an immense amount of success in my books, in my eyes. And I feel nothing but gratitude for coming this far. The podcast has grown, at least my production quality, my content quality, everything, the audio quality has grown significantly. And I'm grateful for that. And I consider that success. And I'm very happy every time I look at the stuff that I'm doing, that I'm still going strong after 3 years of doing this. So redefining success can keep you strong, keep your conviction going. And one is the benefits to a lonely road is character building. I've grown so much in the last 3 years than I have in the last 20, the previous 20. And authenticity, right? You walk with purpose, you walk with what you're doing. You are who you say you are, and that is the most powerful thing you could be, right? There's so many people that say, oh, I want to start this, I want to do that, but they never get to it, and they're not reaching their authentic self. And that creates a discrepancy within themselves, which is then reflected out to the outer world, right? As humans, we pick up on nonverbals, and something about authenticity is it exudes happiness, confidence, genuine desires. And that's why it's so attractive to see somebody be authentic. We want to hang out with people that are authentic. I mean, think about it. Who wants to hang out with someone that's fake? Nobody. I've heard the exact opposite. I'm sure you have too. Oh, that person's so fake. That person's two-faced. Just saying it makes you think, yeah, you're right. I don't want to hang out with someone like that. So what's the exact opposite of that? Authenticity. And the lonely road will build your character, it will build your authenticity, and it'll build deeper connections with everything you have. There's actually this amazing post that I saw on social media, and this guy was saying, if you want more from life, first you need to take less. Less time on social media, you need to spend less money, and that will help you value the more, and life will give you more when you take less. Because the universe appreciates and gives back to people that give first. There's this book called The Go-Giver, absolutely life-changing, one of my favorite books, and one of the first personal growth books I read, I think, was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Go-Giver, Outliers. These were some of the first ever books that I read that changed my life. So Go-Giver is a good one. I'm gonna wrap up this episode now, but I just want to do a short little excerpt on this because as someone that's been doing this for 3 years now, I can very much relate to how lonely it can be, especially when you don't see those signs of growth at all yet. I'm now starting after 3 years, right? 3 years, that's what, almost 1,000 days, around 1,000 days. After 3 years, I'm just now starting to see glimpses of my external reality catching up to what I would be happy about success, right? So, for example, that I would consider success, right? Going further on that required me to always be convicted, required me to have conviction, it required me to be strong, it required me to have perseverance and be productive. So going off of like the glimpses of my success and productivity, productivity is so important. I do want to say that I've been using Magic Mind the last few days, and it's kind of helped with my clarity because I've quit coffee about 6 months ago, and coffee was something that gave me jitters and stuff, so I quit that, but sometimes I need caffeine for that boost. So tea is the way I usually go, and Magic Mind uses this matcha blend, which has been great with the neurotropics and all. They are this episode sponsor, but I do want to give you the genuine feedback that I think it's given me sustained focus and concentration, but it is slightly on the pricier side, and I will admit to that. Furthermore, just to preface, I don't ever want to push a product to you guys just for the sake of money unless I do believe its value. And I do think Magic Mind has its value because it's helped me, and I think it could help you if you're very curious and you want to try something. The taste is a little bit of an acquired taste. It's got a lot of health benefits. So for those of you that had those green detox smoothies and things like that, it's got that healthy taste to it. If you're looking for a Kit Kat milkshake, it's probably not the place to go. But if you're looking for enhanced productivity and focus and all such, I highly recommend you guys give this a shot. Like I said, it might be on the slightly pricier side, but because of that, they're giving us an awesome discount for the Learn or Be Learned community. So if you go to magicmind.com/Shiva, SHIVA, magicmind.com, and use the coupon code Shiva20, SHIVA 20, Shiva20, you'll get a 56% off on your pack of 30 Magic Mind. So give it a shot if you guys are curious, and let me know what you guys think. So like I said, they are the sponsor, but I think they do a great job in what they're doing. Even Joe Rogan has advocated for it and thinks it's great. So has a lot of other individuals. So, if you're curious, give it a shot. Let me know what you guys think. But anyways, everybody, remember that the conclusion here is you need to reframe this idea of loneliness, and remember to celebrate the small wins that will keep you going as well, the small victories. For example, once 2 years ago, I was almost the podcast manager for Jay Shetty and his podcast On Purpose. And for those of you who don't know, Jay Shetty he's got like 20 million followers or something large number on Instagram, and he's got so many celebrities on his podcast. This was only 1 year in, and I was about to be his podcast manager, and they were going to have me fly out to LA, and that would have changed my life 2 years ago. But I made a huge rookie mistake, and I sent them an email saying, hey, I'm in India currently. Can we do this interview process next week? And then they just ghosted me because there was probably a few other people that were on the list, right? And they seemed like an easier candidate than me, who was creating obstacles for them to go over when it should have been the other way around. I should have jumped hoop. But rookie mistakes, you live and learn, and I believe everything happens for a reason. So I didn't beat myself up over it. I just learned from it and kept growing. But I celebrated that. That's the point I want to get to, is I reframed it, and I actually took that as a huge compliment and a huge win. It's actually been a driving force even today, because I sometimes I had this thought even just a few days ago. I was thinking, man, Jay Shetty and his team saw the potential in me, and that was 2 years ago. I need to keep going. So the small wins, and if you can reframe that, can be such motivators that can fuel your engine and keep that conviction strong. So thank you all for checking out this short episode on understanding this path. And it doesn't have to be lonely if you can reframe it. But I do empathize and I do understand, because I was on this journey alone as well. And especially when you don't have a circle to bounce off of and grow with, it can be very difficult. So I feel for you guys, and if you ever need somebody to chat with about it, you can always find me on socials and or somewhere in the show notes and such. So I really encourage you guys to share this with anyone you think would find this topic useful. About if you think that this person that you have in mind is going through the same thing or could benefit from this episode, please share it and please spread the word. So thank you all for listening. I really appreciate your time. And remember, everybody, you either learn from or you're learned from. Thanks.